All right. Good morning. Happy Sunday morning, everybody. It's Sunday, and I'm up a little bit. I'm awake a little bit. I want to welcome you to this very informal little podcast we do on Sunday mornings. And if you haven't been here before, this is what we do on Sunday, and it's generally Rainy and me, but Rainy is not here. If we can patch her in today, we will. I've actually opened the shades this morning, so we have actual sunlight coming in. Here, I'll give you a look. This is where I'm living right now. Let's see if it'll adjust to the outside light. And there you go. There's the camper park in which I am living. And way down at the end is where my buddy Pete's camper is. And that's where I've been living. And so I want to thank you all for coming in this morning. Let me adjust my my angle of my camera and everything so far. And let's see. Sterling says, "Hey, buddy, about ready to hit the sack. It's 11 p.m. over there in Osaka, Japan. Wide in Osaka. And I've been up since 5 this morning, but I love you, man. I wanted to check the fuck in and say hi. Well, welcome, Sterling. And you have a good night's rest. If you're going to be here for a little bit, we'll see you for a little while. But you have a good night's sleep. You've had a long day. And so good night, Macabre. Macabre is Sterling, one and the same. He's my friend over in Osaka, Japan. Kevin Miller, greetings. I was busy the last 2 Sunday mornings, but today I'm back. Well, it's good to see you, Kevin. And this for me is, I used to, when I was younger, in ministry and in evangelical Christian church, I used to hear people say, I don't need to go to church because, I can worship on Sunday mornings the way I want. And I can worship on the golf course, or I can worship in the woods, or for a walk down the street, or, in my own home. And so I used to bristle at that, thinking, no, you need to be in church. And the more I drew away from church life and being in a formal Christian setting, the more I had questions. Sometimes Sunday morning, for me, church is this: it's gathering with you. I know in New Testament thinking, it was the gathering of the saints, the gathering of those who were born again, those who had Jesus in their hearts. And the purpose for them was the fellowship. It was to gather together, because there was nobody else in their world that believed what they believed. And so this morning, I'm seeing us kind of gathered together. These Sunday mornings are, I hate to put it this way, they're my church. This is what I like to do. I like to gather with you all. Sometimes it's not all full of spirituality or worship of any kind. It's just the gathering together, the fellowship. Kevin says, in 4 weeks, my church goes back down to one service. 9 a.m. for the past months. I've been able to make the 10:45 service. Yeah, I haven't been to church for a while. And the last time I actually went to church, I had a disappointing experience, but that was all on me. That wasn't because of what they were doing. It was what my expectations were. And my expectations weren't as fulfilled as I wanted to be. Hey, Teresa, I love you too. I'm glad to see you here. Hey, Steph, good to see you. Scott Allen, good to see you. And you can see my face is not woken up yet. I don't know how I can sleep so much and still wake up looking tired. So we had a good day yesterday. Yesterday was Saturday. You'll notice I'm going to bounce all around in here. I can't keep a cogent stream of thought going, but we'll get there. Sam is still over there sleeping. And when he wakes up, he'll probably come in and join me. And it becomes this last week kind of became the Scotty and Sammy show. So that was kind of fun. It's great having my son here, and it's great that he joins me in, and he he's articulated some thoughts I've never had a chance to hear him articulate before. And that to me was really fulfilling during the week. As you all know, the last 5 years, I haven't really been able to see much of Sam, and troubles and distances and all of that. And we all know that. We've already talked about all of that. And yet, getting back together, it's like going from having your little kid in your house or your teenager in your house. He's 20 now, so 14, 15 was the last time he lived in my home, before all the other weird stuff started. And then he moved down to North Carolina to live with his sisters. And so we haven't seen much of each other. The last time we had a good time hanging out was when I went down to paint the mural on my daughter's wall of their warehouse for Finfolk Productions. And Sam and Abby and I, we went out and we went to some old cemeteries, Revolutionary War era cemeteries out there, and Civil War and so on. And it was really something. And um, it was a good time hanging. Hey, Rockin' Rhonda, how you doing, Rhonda? Good to see you here. Scott Lowry, good to see you. Walking back from the hot springs and listening. That sounds like a lot of fun. Matt Finn, Master Finn, so glad you're here, brother. I love seeing you here when you're here. And let's see, Steffi, you're on a trip. What's going on? Where are you? I missed something. I will say too, my internet, we finally got the internet up and working. It's not the internet I just finally went out and bought Raini said to me, just go spend the money. And so we went out and we bought a hotspot. And we have our phones on Straight Talk. We used to use, Verizon, and before that, some of the other big ones. And we went to Straight Talk because Rainey said it was cheaper. She spends $90 a month for our two phones. So I called Straight Talk and I said, how do I get on hotspot? And they said, you got to buy the device. So I went out and bought the little device. There it is, my hotspot device. That's the box anyway. And put some time on it. And so now we are actually on the computer and we're actually back online. So thanks for putting up with the phone. We'll see how well this goes, and what all is going to happen with the show now. Now that I'm kind of back to semi makeshiftiness. And again, for all of you coming in, this is Informal Sunday Morning. It's Sunday. We started calling it about a year ago, I suppose. We started doing this on Sunday mornings. And I'm going to confide a little something in you. Here's a little secret, maybe to my darker side of my nature. There were shows with friends that we were all doing, and we were all trying to schedule around a couple of years ago, schedule around everybody's show. Wanted to make sure we didn't step on anybody's toes as far as schedule wise during the week. And then there was a little falling out, as there always seems to be in these types of things, falling outs with friends. You've all had them. And that falling out was due to some things that were going on that were problematic. I can't get into it too much because I don't want to say things that maybe aren't true or maybe only one-sided from my point of view. But let's put it this way: we had a little falling out, and Rocky and I had a falling out with the same person, and it was based not on numbers or you have a better show or we're jealous of you or this or that, but there were other things going on that we couldn't get resolved, and we just all parted ways. And one of the things with this particular friend we had the falling out with was we kind of agreed to not step over each other's shows. So people could go in and see one show, then the other, well, whatever they wanted to choose to do. And that started getting infringed on. And that created a problem for me. It's like, look, I don't step on anybody else's show. Well, maybe I do, but there are friends that have shows, and we try not to overlap them. And this other person was overlapping our shows. And then word was coming back, well, he doesn't have enough followers, and I can do what I want to do, and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, go do what you want to do. But on Sunday mornings, this person had a Sunday morning show, and maybe call this spite, maybe call it a little comeuppance, however you want to define this. Maybe it's a bad part of my nature, but I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing my own Sunday morning show at 9 a.m. because this other person constantly stepped on our toes, stepped on our shows, and when we were friends, and it got irritating, and I was irritated enough that I said, I'm just going to start doing a show, and I'm going to start reading tarot on Sunday mornings, and that's why I started it. So maybe something that had a not so savory beginning, because I will admit I did something out of irritation and spite. Although the show itself, doing the Sunday morning show, was great and fine and fun. I had a problem with this other person that was being a dick, let's put it that way. And so we started this show about a year ago on Sunday mornings, thereabouts. I don't even remember when we started. So, Teresa, that I don't mind, because that's something I love your show. I love what you do. But you and I didn't have a pact ahead of time with a third party that was doing a radio show and saying, look, we're not going to step on each other's toes. And so it was, I did, Sterling. I said, Dick. I already know who Scotty is talking about. I missed most over everything he was talking about. Oh, yeah. And so, you know what? I hate the fact when I look back on my life that I would live my life by um, getting evens or spite or irritation or things that I do. Sometimes we do things, and I know I have done things that I do for the wrong reasons and the wrong motivations. And it bothers me when I look back on it. And I think there's probably no better way to do that than to step up and say, yeah, I did that. And I acted that way. I acted poorly. But the result was, I think, something that has been good. It's been good for me. I hope it's been good for you. I loved bringing Raini into the shows because she added a dimension to that I hadn't done before. And I kept saying to Raini, you ought to do your own show, And then she came and started joining me on this show. And you know what has happened because of that? Her confidence is built up in talking to you guys. I think one of these days, when we get back to actually having a studio status instead of this makeshift trailer crap, um, in a makeshift life out in a makeshift world, where I hate being right now. I don't hate it. I'm dissatisfied here. I'm not content here. I know we try to say, be content in all things. That's a writing of Paul's in the New Testament. Find contentment. And I work to find contentment the best way I can. And in this setting, I am where I am right now. I'm pent up. I'm in discontent. I am. It's not that I can't find happiness and joy wherever I am, and peace and contentment, which I do. It's that I would rather not be here, but I'm here for a purpose. There's a reason. It's like how many military men? Let's use that as an example. Do you know who are deployed for 6 months at a shot? Are they always content where they are? No, they're doing their duty. They're doing their job. They're doing what they love to do. That doesn't mean it doesn't cause discontent and heartache and all of those things and missing the people you love. So there you go, Matt. Nobody puts our captain in the corner. You have an amazing woman there, Scotty, says Steph. I approve. Thank you, ma'am. She is indeed. And you'll get an extra boost from the new stimulus to go toward the ranch. Yeah, we just Raini just called me last night and said, "Hey, we're getting $3,000 in," and I said, "Oh, that's cool. Was that from the new one, or is that the leftover from the old one?" I thought that he just signed that last week into legislation. like Thursday or Friday, and we already have a letter from the 5th, which was, what's today? Today's the 14th. That's 9 days ago. We got a letter saying that we're getting $3,000 in. And I'm not sure how they did the figuring. I thought it was 1,400 per person plus X number of dollars per kid. And we got 3 kids at home. So I have no idea. I'm just thankful that there's $3,000 coming in the door. This was at a time where Raini said, hey, we're tight down here. Be careful with your spending down there. We spend more money here doing absolutely nothing. I mean, you look around our camper, we don't have a TV in here. I just splurged and spent $100 that I felt really guilty about spending to get a hotspot and hook it up. And, this is the card that comes with it. I have 5 gigabytes of data for $50. That's a 2-month card. I don't know how far 5 gigabytes goes, but there you go. And so, we spent that money. But the only reason I was able to justify it, we got $3,000 coming in the door this week. Sometime this week, it should hit our accounts between Monday and Thursday, I think. And so that takes a little, gives you a little breathing room. Okay, that's good. Maybe a guy my age, this is one of my disappointments in life, my discontents with myself. A guy 60 years old with 3 little kids at home and a wife at home, I fully anticipated by the time I was 60 to be not retired, like I'm going to sit back on my porch now and do nothing. No, I thought I would be retired in the sense that I've made it. I made it in life. I succeeded where I wanted to succeed. And that success gave me financial success. And therefore, I'm now going to move on into my what do you call this? Am I in my elder years yet? No, not yet. I think I envision elder years as being in the year 80s, but I'm my post middle age on the slide down to my elder years. I envision that doing things like traveling with my wife and enjoying life and having our own house and our own ranch or our own farm or whatever it is, and those things just didn't happen. Not the way I planned. My expectations were up there and the reality was down here. And so we've had our moments. you know I just said to Sam yesterday, I said, uh, I've been doing the poor thing for a long time now. I think I'm ready to try wealth for a while. Let's try wealth. Okay, I think I'll do that this time. So there you go. Yeah, why tax it, Susie Q? I'm with you. Isn't that our tax money coming back to us? I have a lot of friends on the opposite side of the political spectrum from me that, oh, how can you take your check? If you believe this and this about, I said, you know what? The government took it. It's my tax money that they took. They're giving some of it back. Okay, I'll take that. Is that bad for the country? What are you going to do? Say, no, thanks. Government, you keep it because my philosophy of politics is different than taking it. Well, where's that money going to go? Iran, Bulgaria, whatever, So figure that one out. And so we're just fine with it. We can use it. And at the same time, I have no problem getting some of my tax money back. So there you go. Matt Finn says, I'd like to be able to help you with the process of building if you decide that and need it, Scotty. Matt Finn, I will probably rely on you for that when the time comes. If all goes as planned here, I'll be returning home in the summer with enough to get that project rolling. And if not enough to pay cash for it, enough to go to the bank and say, look, we need a mortgage to buy some land and build this kind of home we want to build. So there we go. I've talked about that before. I don't want to make this show. I'm not complaining about my finances. I'm not complaining about my poor estate in life, which it's not. We make it. We get by. We do fine. It's a little nail biting sometimes. Maybe we all experience that. I don't have the regular paycheck on the 1st and the 15th. And when I'm down here, I get some of my jobs. I'm not promoting my business as much as I should because I'm out here promoting this business. And so, it gets a little dicey some days, but we make it. Raini is doing her massage work. That brings in a little bit. And so, we look at the whole picture and we say, there's nothing to be discontent about. Even though we have, those white knuckling moments of life where you go, okay, let's see. This is due, this is due, this is due, and this is due. And we've only got this much when we need this much this month. And so you go from month to month. It's a roller coaster. I call it an hellacious roller coaster of joy and reasoned befuddlement. It's like, okay, there are times I sit back now. Do any of you do this? I don't know where my topic started. I've rabbit trailed all over. I call this one big river with all kinds of tributaries. So, any of you done this? You sit back and you go, why am I not further ahead than where I should be? Do you have that discontentment of life that says, um, I really anticipated and expected I would be in a different place by this time, and I'm not, or I'm here. Maybe some of you have said, I've made it to that place and exceeded and gone beyond it. I have friends of mine who are very well off, maybe even in that rich category, if you will. I don't envy them. I don't begrudge them at all. I'm glad they made something out of what they do. I have a friend I went to college with, and about the time he was 20 years old, he left college and he went back up to the cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and he started working for a guy. The guy was in silver reclamation and silver refining. You know what he did? He would go to hospitals, all the local hospitals, and he would get permission to install a little device on their X-ray machines. And did you know the old developing process, long before digital, developing pictures, there is a silver nitrate in the chemicals that develops the pictures. Well, he would put his machine, a little machine, on their X-ray machines, and he would extract the silver flake. It would suck in the chemicals, and the silver flake would come out. And once a month or a week or whatever, he'd come back and reclaim the device and switch it out. And he'd take the silver flake, then he would refine it into silver coins and silver bars. Well, my friend eventually, within a year or two, bought that company. We're talking way back in the early 1980s. And he had a refining company. He expanded that. I don't know the details. I know I did some work for him at some time, design work, logos and things like that, long, long time ago. And we'd once every couple of years, I haven't seen the guy in God, probably 10 years. Although one time, I think we connected on Facebook. Hey, how's it going? Hey, man. And but I believe he sold off his company. I don't know the figures, but I know he's my age. So no, he was 2 years older than me. He's 62 by now. He sold off that little company, and I think is set for the rest of his life. And I know his son is now, who I knew as an infant, is now in his 30s and doing very well. And they have a ranch and all that. So you look at that stuff and you say, there is somebody who was very goal oriented. He was a very smart man, obviously, and he started one thing and he kept at it. It worked for him, and that worked for him the rest of his days, all the way up till now, for 40 years. And all through the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, and the 20 teens, he made this thing work for him. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I think he sold it off and said, that's it, I'm done. And probably took a good amount of money out of it. I've got another friend who I've talked about before. You've seen the Hell's Head coffee logo that's usually down in the corner of my nightly show. That's a good friend of mine, Andy Dabbs. And I met him, God, I can't remember if it was before I knew Raini or it was after I met Raini and I were married. So sometime 15 years-ish ago. And started doing logo work for him. He was a mechanic. And he was always trying to find something to get out of just being a mechanic where he wasn't making all his ends meet. He had a little house in Minneapolis in the suburbs. And he started that company, Lemon Squad. You can go over and look at lemonsquad.com. That's his site. And where he would do, I've talked about him before, but as an entrepreneur, somebody who wanted to get out of the hole he was in, the rut, and the making it from week to week by the skin of his teeth. So he started doing used car inspections. He had heard that's a big thing. And that's where, let's say, Matt Finn, you're going to go out and buy a used car. And you go, hey, Scotty, can you go? You're a mechanic. Can you go inspect this car and see if it's good to buy? And I go, sure. I charge you $50. And, pay me $50, $75, and I'll go give a complete rundown of computer testing. I'll test everything for you, and I'll tell you if it's a good car to buy. And so he started doing that, and he named his company Lemon Squad. I think he was Auto something before that. And Auto Nerds is what I think it was, Auto Nerds. And so it developed into Lemon Squad. And he developed that company just in the last 15 years. And very recent, really, when you're my age, it's like 15 years, and it seems like yesterday. And he developed that, and he was working it from his house. And he'd go out and do inspections, and then get another mechanic that he could pay to do inspections for him. Then he started spreading it out from his home. He went to the surrounding state. He went to other states. He finally ended up in a place where he was covering every state and every major city in the United States, all from his computer system at home. He built a huge database. He paid somebody to build a huge website where they could go in and place orders, take orders. He could connect. Let's say he's living in Minneapolis and you live in, I don't know, somewhere Timbuktu, Massachusetts, and you call his 800 number off his website, and he would say, "Yeah, we'll have somebody out within sometime today or within a half a day." And he'd look up his list of mechanics in that city, and he'd send a mechanic out. Can you go do an inspection today? We need it done. And it got so refined. And then he started doing Canada, I think, in Mexico. And so he did all these places. And I don't think he'll mind me saying this. He just sold off that company this summer when I was up at his place. He bought an old cabin of his family's, which was in ruins, and totally rebuilt that thing. They got a gorgeous little house up there. It's not a big house, it's a little one. They're very neat people. They're very minimalist. So their decorating is like out of Architectural Digest. And they've got this point on Pequot Lake that sticks out in the lake. Sarah Soderlin, she lives a mile away from him. How coincidental was that? Two of my friends moving to the same place. And so he did all of that, and I was up there developing his the look for his coffee company, the Hell's Head Coffee. And so the week I was, he had Raini come up and the kids, and we spent a few days up there at their cabin. And this last summer, and developed this coffee company. Well, I came back about a month later to do more work for him and spend a few days up there, and he sold off Lemon Squad. This is the whole point I'm getting to. This little company he started out of nothing, made it into something, was making a shitload of money, and literally. And he sold that company off. He got his first payment of like $2 million the day I was sitting there designing his logos. So that's what I'm talking about overall. Push all that tributary stuff aside. This is somebody who I know some people, like I say, who have set those goals and have been very focused and know what they're doing, or they hit the right niche. I look at my own daughters with their mermaid tails. Who knew? They were going to school for other things. Abby was going to college for library sciences or something like that. And Bryn, I can't remember what she was going to school for, but they were both kind of in that category. We need to find something that will make us money as we get older. And they ended up starting these mermaid tails 9 years ago. See, they're 29 now. So yeah, they were 20. They were in school. And it was for the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. Can you make mermaid tails? Because they would do costuming on the side to make money. Abby was working at a fabric store. I can't remember where Bryn was raised. I don't know why I don't know some of the details. I can't remember about Bryn, but suffice it to say, they started making these mermaid tails, and that caught on. They had individuals that wanted to buy them, and I've told that story a million times, so I won't spend much time on it. But they expanded that business. Suddenly, in a year and a half, they had more orders than they could handle for tails. They had, and they had a year-long waiting list for people ordering. They were doing international stuff, and you know what? Nobody bulk buys their stuff. These are all individuals, and my daughters would be feasibly millionaires right now, um, with what they've done, what they've accomplished. They bought their own building. They, you all know all that about them, and they made it on a fluke, no pun intended. The fluke being the tail of a mermaid. It was like a little project they did for the Renaissance Festival. Got paid a couple $1,000s to do it, and it turned into their what now at 29 years old is their has been their lifelong business so far in their short lives. And they keep looking at ways to expand that and do things, and they're doing phenomenally. And so there you go. That is what people do. Sometimes, like my friend Dan, who did the silver refinery, very meticulous, planned it, stuck with that his whole life. My friend Andy, looking for a way to increase himself so he's not stuck where he is, expanded that into something that has paid off very well for him. My daughters, artistic, creative, and got the ability or the opportunity to try something, and by sheer luck, got that working, and then with their skill, took it further, and that's their lives right now. So we all have that stuff. Hey, Delaney, welcome in. Um, And I see there's lots of stuff going on here. Talk. Um, let's see. I'm going to back up and see some of the things that are being said here about this. I went off on that just to say my reason for that, by the way, all of what I just went through with those three examples is to say we have our expectations in life. We set those things up for ourselves. And we think, this is where I want to be. This is where I'm going. And I expect that I will get there. And sometimes we either lose focus or it doesn't work the way we want. And we have to try something else and do something else. I've been an artist my whole life. I've been a writer not my whole life, just the last really 12 years of my life. And, we look at all of that and you say, maybe there's a way I can make that work so I can be um, less having to live day to day in my older years when I start getting older. And so I find I am still in a position as an artist. I'm still working day to day, trying to make everything meet. I look at my mom, my own mom, Jane Scott. She started, God, 30 years ago doing karaoke, some people say. And she started a business out of that. And she, in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, started getting a show almost every night of the week. And she had to hire people to do shows after a couple of years. And she would, for her, it was like $150 to $200 a night. And then she started doing multiple shows on days. And she did that all throughout the week with only like Monday nights off and maybe sometimes a Sunday. And but she loved doing what she was doing because she used to go with her friends and hang out at those places anyway. And so now she's been doing that for 30 years. My mom is 78 years old this summer, and she still has several karaoke shows a week down in Arizona, and it makes her living. And she's doing great and enjoying her life. My mom, for being 78, by the way, looks like she's about 58. So she's not, a little old lady going up to sing. My mom has a powerful set of lungs. She's got a powerful voice, and she sings. And I think I got my singing from her. It's in the genes. And not that I'm touting myself, but you know what I mean. And so my mom, you can go look her up if you're not a friend of hers on Facebook. Go to my Facebook page and look up Jane Scott, and you'll see my mom. Every now and then I see her in here. So she made something out of nothing. And that has been her career for 30 years. When I was a kid, my mom was a waitress, and I've mentioned that several times in different discussions on the show. Imagine let's see, I was 18 when my mom was born. I'm sorry, when I was born. My mom was 18. I said that backwards. My mom was 18 when I was born. She was 17 when my older brother was born. And we had my sister's 5 years younger, so she was 23 when my little sister was born. I remember growing up, she was a single mom. She and her second husband were divorced when I was about 6. And so my mom, my brother, my sister, and I, the four of us, um, uh, that's how I grew up. And during that time, I look at my mom and I say, my mom in her mid to late 20s was a single mom with 3 kids at home, and she was a waitress in a bar and restaurant. And I'm trying to think, it was called the Innsbruck Inn with Sparky's Pub connected. And she sometimes would bring us down there and on Saturday afternoons, and we get to play pool if we didn't get in the way of paying customers. And that's how my mom. Think of being in your 20s. Think of people you know now in their 20s. Single mom working as a waitress, living off of, I think it was $2.35 an hour was the minimum wage back then, and living off your tips. And that's what she did. She did that for years until she started her karaoke business right around somewhere around 1990. So, and she made something out of something very small. And that's what she does. Is she getting rich? Is she going to be a millionaire off of that? No. She is satisfied. She's happy. She's content. And she's doing fine. And, my mom, I think you all know this. And when it happened about a year ago, my mom had a heart attack, just like I did, and had the same exact surgery, heart surgery I had. And she also had a hip replaced. So I've got that genetics from my mom. It just happened to me before it happened to her. So, and she's doing fine. Hey, Roger Rabbit. Good morning. It's good to see you too. Having a good day so far. I set my alarm for 8:30 this morning, just in case. I usually wake up early, and of course, I woke up at like 6:30, but I didn't get up. I laid there and I went through my emails and stuff like that on my phone in my bed. Dozed off, woke up, dozed off, woke up, and finally my alarm went off at 8 o'clock because I had realized when I went to bed last night after midnight, Sam and I sat here and watched a movie, and then I went to bed, and I thought, oh, I haven't put up a reminder for today's show. And I thought, screw that. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting back out of bed. I'm too tired. And so I set my alarm for 8 so I could get up and do the reminder for today's show. And I ended up not doing that even till 8:40, something like that this morning. So I'm glad to see you all in here, by the way. So um, Beth says, that's cool. Yeah, the story, not the heart problems. And there's times I think about growing up, and I've said it. I think we only survived because my grandfather, my mom's dad, made sure we had what we needed, and she worked hard. We had that little house. I call it affectionately the house on Pooh Corner, um, where I grew up in the north end of Minneapolis, right on the border of North Minneapolis and the next suburb up near the Mississippi River, a block away. We had the woods and the houses behind, across the street from us. There was that miles long strip of wilderness, it seemed, with woods and fields. Then the other side of that, of course, was take about a city block in depth for all these fields running for miles. And then you hit the busy house. There were houses across the way, and the busy street, Lyndale Avenue, and then the river right on Lyndale Avenue. And that is all now those woods, that wooded area, all those fields is I-94 coming out of downtown Minneapolis. So I drive with the kids sometimes, and every time we go down there, we're going down the freeway at 70 miles an hour, and I point at the wall, the barrier wall up on the west side of and I go, "Hey kids, look up there. Can't see it, but right on the other side of that wall." I said, "That's my old house is still there where I grew up." So there was no big feet in them woods, Steph, other than mine. And so no, we used to go down in there and we'd build forts. It's grassy fields and trees all over the place. It wasn't like a forest. It was a little more sparse than a forest, but there were trees all over the place. And we go down there and shoot bow and arrow. I mean, we were like in the middle of, it would be like having 100-acre woods outside your house. And if you walked a block away from that, you were back on the busy street of the suburb. And so, and that ran for miles. And I think from that point, it's only like 3 miles till you hit the downtown Minneapolis area. So if that, and so all those fields were wide open for the freeway. Let me take a sip of coffee. So all that to say, my mom did all right. We survived because my grandpa helped us. And that was her, just for sake of setting the picture. That was my mom's stepdad. He married my grandmother after World War II, when he got back from the war, somewhere in there, maybe in the early 50s. And my grandmother, my mom was, I think, 5 years old. So in 1947, my mom was born in 42. And my grandfather then married her mother, my grandmother, in like 1947-ish. And they had another child, my aunt, who has now passed away as well. She was 11 years older than I am. She would be 71 years old today. She died in 1995 when I was 35, and she was 46. And but that was my mom's Jewish stepfather. That's where the Jewish family comes into the picture in ours. And he was Oscar J. Gould was my grandfather. Gould, and he said it used to be Goldstein, and they changed it after some time when they moved to America or something. And it was his mother. They were Hungarian. He was born here, but his parents were born in Hungary. And I remember when I was a kid, I was 10, 11 years old, he used to take us to see great grandmother, his mom, in the nursing home. And it was a Jewish nursing home in St. Paul called the Shalom Home. And that's where she was. And that's where I got a lot of my isms from her, picked them up. You know, she would talk like this. She was a little old lady and she had the Hungarian accent. And I'd come in and she'd say, "Oh, Scotty, from my lips to God's ears." And so I picked up some of my Yiddishisms from that. So, and she passed away when I was about 11 or 12, I think, something. And so, what's going on in the chat room? I'm just chattering away. Scott Allen Roberts, that's me. Teresa, what were you asking on that? My full name, Scott Allen Roberts. Yes, Teresa, were you asking me a question that I haven't seen? I'm scrolling back a little bit. Maybe not. So, good morning, Leslie. Says Susie. Hey, Leslie. Nice to have you here. Oh, Leslie Denny Fitness. Hey, good morning, Leslie Denny Fitness. I don't think I've ever seen you in here before. So welcome to the program. I will say, for your benefit, and again, anybody who's coming in late, Sundays are very informal. This is not a formal radio show like we do on the Odyssey Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. West Coast time. But Sunday mornings is informal. My wife, Raini, is usually here, but I am, of course, working out of state right now, and everything's become a little makeshifty. So welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here. Let's see. And Let me take a look at some more comments coming in. I'll be sending out some healing and intents for Carly and Kinsey. Yes, seizures started up again. I'm sorry to hear that, Roger. And Carly, if you're out there listening, that's tough. It's tough with a little kid at night to begin with. Even tougher when there's medical problems and things like that. So I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, there are people who love kids no matter what the parentage. I agree with you. And Beth, my grandfather, I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but he was our grandpa. We spent more time with him growing up, and they were not blood related, my mom and he. They were, but he was her dad from the time she was 5. And so we were always going over to his house, and we were always then my after he passed away, my aunt got his house. No, she got his house when he moved to his little island in the Honduras. That was it. But she passed away first, and then my grandfather passed away within a year after that. And so he was the one. He used to sit with me, and he would quote. I may have told this story before, but um, when you'd get him in the right mood, he'd lapse into poetry that he loved, and he used to quote "The Highwayman" by Alfred Noyes, and if that's how you pronounce his name, Noyes, I think it's spelled, poet, and The Highwayman. The moon was a ribbon of the moon was a ribbon of light, something over the purple moor when the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The highwaymen came riding up to the old inn door. If you remember that poem, you know what? I'm going to look it up because I want to read it to you if you haven't heard it. Highwaymen by Noyes. Let's see. Here it is. So let me find it. Let me get it called up here. And now my grandfather used to quote this. He'd sit and quote this poem. And it was one of his favorites. I'd heard him do it a couple of times and other things. And he would get very dramatic when he would do that. And I remember as he started to fall into a little dementia at the end of his life. And what took him was not the dementia, but he had developed a kind of leukemia, a blood cancer of some kind. And he was living down on his island, that remote third world down in the Caribbean. And we had to go get him and bring him home. He didn't want to be home. He wanted to be on his island. And he flew himself back there once, and we had to go get him again and bring him home. And he went into a big tower. It wasn't a nursing home. It was like assisted living, but still in a big condo type of a big tower over in Minneapolis. Pretty place. It had a neat, you'd go up to the top floor, which was like 22 stories or something. And you'd get up there, and there was a hot tub room with the glass all around. You could see the whole curve of the globe up there and the city. And then we'd go up there, and you go out on the balconies and stuff. So we'd go hang at his place up there. It's a nice place, but I remember he started diminishing there. I think the onset of the leukemia, coupled with the not being where he wanted to be, being discontent where he wanted to be on his island. He wanted to be down there with the people that he'd grown to love, the local people down there. My grandfather, Oscar OJ, we called him. He was a world traveler, but he was one of those world travelers that would do, how to travel the jungles of Afghanistan on 50 cents a day type of a person. And he had all kinds of pictures. He wasn't a photographer. He just took pictures, little Instamatic cameras, back in the 70s and the 80s. And I showed you once on the radio show, I've got his walking stick that he had carved by somebody, carved that up for him down in Honduras. That was the one thing of his I have, is that walking stick. And but that went all over the world with him. He talked about in his 60s, he was backpacking the jungles of Korea with his 30-year-old traveling companion, a Korean traveling companion. I saw pictures. She was a hot little Korean chick. My grandfather was that way. He was always the playboy and the not wanting to grow older and always wanting to be, as most men do, I think, still trying to retain that appeal to the younger women, and that was what he. That's what he was part of his personality. He wasn't a cad or a creep or a lech or anything like that. He just liked younger women. As he got older, and I think some of why men do that. I think they do that because they fear losing their youth, their appeal to the opposite sex, and I think that's what drives a lot of men like that. My grandfather was no different, and so he used to do all of that. He was a traveler, and so when he got cooped up in the assisted living condos, um, I think he just dwindled. He had nothing to do, nowhere to go. I have pictures of him with my daughters when they were 2 and 3 years old. He died when they were 3 years old, I believe. So 26 years ago. And uh, he, I remember even at his funeral. And now he's Jewish, and so his family, he had to be in the ground within 24 hours by Jewish tradition and custom and belief. And they wrapped him in a shroud and they put him in a pine box, and that's how that wooden box, and that's how they would bury. I don't know what happens with that. I don't know if there's code that has to be met, but in the Jewish religion, that's what they do. And so his family took care of that. And I remember we were at the funeral at the gravesite, and everybody would come and put a scoop of dirt in. And my little daughters, Abby and Bryn, they're 3 years old, and they're taking the big old spade. See, they took it together, and they scooped up a little shovel of dirt and threw it in the grave for Grandpa OJ, and sent him on his way. And uh, I was asked to say a little something at that funeral, and I said, my grandfather, OJ. And I said, he was not my blood, but he was the grandfather of my heart, the dad to my mom for as many years, 50 years. And I said, we all knew him as an adventurer. I said, he was kind of an agnostic, maybe even an atheist. I said, he didn't know where. We once talked about that. And I said, where are you going to be after you pass away? And he said, dead. That's all he said. And he didn't really like to talk about it much. But I think he came to some terms with that as he knew he was dying. And so I told everybody, I said, we all have our chosen faiths and our chosen beliefs, but none of us really knows what's going on next. We don't know. We haven't been there. I said, so OJ, my grandfather, I said, he's gone on the greatest adventure of all. The OJ, the adventurer, the world traveler, has gone on the greatest adventure of all. And I know I shared this with you before, but I think it might be an appropriate time to do that. My grandfather appeared to me through a medium, and it's interesting because you see, I've run a lot across run across a lot of psychics and mediums over my career. Um, and some of them, it's like bullshit, is your response to them. And I throw them in my bullshit can, my little invisible bullshit can over here. Some of them you run into and you say, there's something there, there's a gift there. And then some of them absolutely knock your socks off with the information they come out with. Motherella being one of them, Sarah Soderlin being another one of them. And so as I was talking to this medium who called me out of the blue, said, I got some information for you and I'd like to do a reading for you. She didn't charge me anything. I didn't know she had any ulterior motives, wanting to get to know who I was or whatever, get on the radio show or whatever. This is a few years ago now, 5, 6 years ago. And she said, I got some images in my head and I wanted to talk to you. And she came up with information that nobody would have known. And then she said, there is somebody. No, let's back this up. This one's different. This was, Michael and Marty Perry. They've been on Ghost Adventures. They're the couple where she puts on a headset and draws pictures of the people that they're talking about, and he's a Brit, and he does the psychic reading. Some of you are familiar with them. Michael and Marty Perry, Pari. You can find them on my Facebook friends list, or you can just go look them up. And I was sitting. This was a little further back. This was back at. We all went to. Where were we? We were all in a hotel together at the Lexington, Kentucky. What's the sanatorium there? The old tuberculosis sanatorium, Waverly Hills. And so I was sitting in their room. I wanted them to do a reading for me. And they didn't know me very well, but we had run into each other at several shows. Raini and Michael and Marty got to know each other at the Stanley Hotel event right around the same time. And so I've gotten to know them over the years. They're dear friends. And so he was doing the reading, and he said, don't tell me anything. He says, I'll just tell you if I have any questions. And Marty's drawing pictures, and he comes up with some people. He came up with my aunt, who had passed away back in, 25 years ago. And then he said, the way he said it, he said, darling, he says, give me your name. And Love, he would call her Love, give me your name. And he said, it's Sandy. And Marty took off her headset. She says, no, she's saying, it's Andy. It's Andy. It is Andy. And not Sandy, it's Andy. And that's what he heard. And my aunt's name was Andrea, and we all called her Andy. I grew up knowing her as my Aunt Andy, or Aunt Andy, we called her. Like Aunt B, she was my Aunt Andy. And she was a little slight build, short, redheaded, vivacious, goofy sometimes. If she was rich, you would call her eccentric, but she was crazy. We said affectionately. And she gathered all the youth because of my cousin, who was roughly my age, a little younger than I am. But all his friends would gather, and she had no money, and they were kind of the lower middle class. And but all these kids called her mom in the neighborhood. They would all come to her. They would all gather at her house, and that's the kind of person she was. But Michael said, "There's a woman." He says, "She's jumping up and down, very excited, waving her arms, saying, 'I'm here, pick me,' kind of thing." And he says, "Okay, darling." He says, "Love." He says, tell me your name. And that's where we got it. It's the Sandy. No, it's Andy. And then she said, wait, I have to get somebody. And he says, now there's somebody with her. And he says, it's a man. He's male. He's very tanned skin. He said, very tan. And he says, almost, like the older people you see that live in Arizona and are in the sun all day long. Very tan and craggy. And has a shock of white hair, and he's going like this. He's putting his hand on his chest and saying, "I was the money." He says, "I was the money," and and I said, "That's got to be my grandfather, OJ. That's my aunt Andy and my grandfather, OJ." And there were a couple of other things he said that identified it, but he described them to a T. And their personalities and everything. And so it was very cool. Let's see. Now I'm talking about all this. I'm missing a lot of the chat, and I'm not participating very well in the chat. So let me take a look at what all's going on over here. I'm going to go backwards, but Matt Finn says, what a place, Teresa. I'm so blessed to make it to that stage of life. I would like to do something similar, because Teresa said the Cherokee Reservation all year round. location that I can stay with my RV. That's very cool. Um, I'm looking forward to. I wonder how. We've talked about Reuben Fasthorse going to adopt me into the Lakota tribe and name me, and that's official. And it's official within the tribe as well. I wonder how the tribe, other people accept that. When a Washti like me, a white guy, um, becomes a member of the tribe, adopted into a Native American family. I would think from all sources that I understand, Teresa, maybe you know some of this. I know Ruben would probably know some of this, but I have not a drop of Native American blood in me, of Indian blood. And so, indigenous blood, let's put it that way. And there's somebody messaging me. I'm going to see. Maybe it's Reuben Fasthorse. I don't know. Let's find out. Maybe he's watching or listening. And Reuben, if you're out there, say hi in the chat room. Nope, nothing there. So that was something else, some other notification on my phone. So, but that would be interesting to see. You have white people or Americans that will cross into some of these reservations, and sometimes it can be not so exciting. It could be a little dangerous at the wrong time at the wrong place. I have heard, and so if I'm a member of the tribe, what does that do? If I'm adopted in, so let's see. Teresa says, "Yes, Matt, expected my application because of my in Delaware. The children there are wonderful. I can do a lot of things with them to help out." They said I could help with them in science projects, wildlife projects as well, and arts and crafts. Teresa, that's fantastic. That sounds amazing. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see just if I can raise Reuben Fasthorse. Let's see where he is. Let's see if he'll pick up his phone this morning. And we'll kind of patch him in. I wish there was a way to patch him in on this. Maybe I have to pay money to do that or something. So we'll find out. But let's see if I go for Reuben. There he is. Maybe he's already online. I don't know. He might be doing a show right now. But let me call. I'm just going to call and see if by any chance we can pick him up. And if we do, we'll add him in impromptu here. So we'll see what's happening. And it's ringing. Doesn't mean anything. It's if he sees it, if he's around. Now, I think he'd have picked up already if he was there. And so I was going to see if we could patch him in this morning, in the weird way, this way. So I'm calling him right now. We're going to see what happens. And Teresa, that all sounds very cool. That's kind of fun. You're going to plant a vegetable garden and all of that. Let's see. What's everybody else saying right now? What's going on in here? What's the talk of the day? Beth Kirkham says, Lorena McKenna sang a version of Yes, the Highwayman. Oh, and I was going to read that. And there's no Reuben this morning. Sorry, he's not picking up. Let's do that. Let's move back over to here. When I talked about my grandfather quoting the Highwayman, I used to read the Highwayman. I think it's because I learned it from him to Abby and Bryn when they were little. And I've read it to my kids now too. Different set of kids, by the way. Abby and Bryn, they're almost 30. When they were little, I could read poetry to them and sing to them, and Sam too. And now my kids now they prefer, watching a TV show or a movie or something to reading and being sung to or hearing poems. I have to get them in the right mood and just start that up. And now I'm gone, so it's hard to do. I read to them on occasion, rarest of occasions, via the camera. But Ellery held a book, her favorite book, The Dark, and flipped the pages on that as I read over the camera to her one night. But here is the Highwayman. I love this poem. You all ready for this? This is how this goes. And my grandfather used to quote this And I love it. Here it goes. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The highwaymen came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doeskin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, and his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jeweled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle under the jeweled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed in the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. And dark in the dark old inn yard, a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened. His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like moldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight. But I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups. He scarce could reach her hand, but she loosed her hair in the casement. His face burned like a brand, as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight. Then he tugged at his rein in the moonlight and galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning. He did not come at noon. And out of the tawny sunset before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor, a redcoat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale and stag. But they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of her narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention with many a sniggering jest. They had bound a musket beside her with the muzzle beneath her breast. "Now keep good watch," and they kissed her. She heard the doomed man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it, the trigger at least was hers. The tip of one finger touched it, she strove no more for the rest. Up she stood to attention with the muzzle beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing, she would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her love's refrain. Tlot, 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 had they heard it, the the horse hoofs ringing clear. Tlot, 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 in the distance. Were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight over the brow of the hill, the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up straight and still. Tlot tlot in the frosty silence, tlot tlot in the echoing night. Nearer he came in nearer, her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment, she drew one last deep breath, then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred to the west. He did not know she stood, bowed, with her head o'er the musket, drenched with her own red blood. Not till the dawn he heard it, and his face grew gray to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden noon. Wine red was his velvet coat when they shot him down on the highway. Down like a dog on the highway. And he lay in his blood on the highway with a bunch of lace at his throat. In the still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the dark inn yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. There you go. That's The Highwayman. And my grandfather used to recite that all the time. And and I read that all the time for my kids. And at bedtime, my daughters love that poem. Well, thank you, Matt Finn, and thank you, Teresa. It's an awesome poem. And so there we go. I've got nothing else to really talk about. What do you guys want to talk about? I'm going back through the comments so I can maybe see some things that we might want to talk about today. It's already after 10. We've been here for an hour. Let's see if there's anything else going on. I did want to check in with Raini. Let me see if she's around. Hold on a second. Oh, her little green dot is not on, so we'll find out if she's here. It's ringing. One ringy dingy. How many of you remember what that's from? Two ringy dingies. So connecting video, it says. I think somebody's there. Hi.
Hello.
How you doing? I'm doing radio. You want to say hi?
No, not really.
Put on your pretty look, your pretty expression. You ready?
No, I'm not ready. I don't know
there she is.
Radio.
It's Sunday morning. Oh, there she is.
I don't care what day it is.
It's Sunday. So, hey, you look beautiful. Wow.
Right? I look really tired.
You do. And look up at the camera again like that. That is pure beauty. There it is.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totes, as Rainy would say. So we're not going to be long.
You got your hot spot to work.
I did. It's working. And so that's good. So we're on the computer. And so much nicer than being on the phone to broadcast. So there we go. Hey, look into the camera with your eyes. Look at those eyes. So send Rainy some good energy, some good juju. She is just a little worn out. So she looks very tired, says Teresa.
Yeah, I'm exhausted today. And I got to go paint my grandma's kitchen.
Oh, that's right. You got to go do painting. Can you see more of the chat if you flip your phone? I can, Scott Allen, but I'm not on the phone now, so I'm actually on the computer this morning, Scott Allen. We got our internet up and working, so I can see the chat now. I just don't look at it while I'm talking. So, I will be on Andromeda 7 this Wednesday night, and I hate to say it, Teresa, I don't know all the details off the top of my head. So why don't you pour them out there? Yeah, it's a big phone I have there. There we go. And for an awesome wife, filling the screen.
Our phone's a Samsung 850 from Straight Talk.
Yeah, old phones, old Androids.
The 851 is now on sale for $199.
All right. Oh, the step up from this one.
The step up, yeah. That went down from 400 to 2.
Nice. I need to get a new phone. I got that big crack in my screen. People, you can't see it, but there's a big crack that runs along this screen. It's obfuscated by the fact that there's a what?
I said your phone will survive.
It'll survive. I'm doing fine.
You sure it's the screen protector? You need to replace the screen protector.
I'm afraid if I take the screen protector off, the crack is going to be revealed and split even more. So I leave the screen protector on. Yeah, I've looked at it. You don't really feel it on the screen protector. It's underneath. So, all right, Teresa. Teresa sent me an email. Let me just see what's going on with this. What's going on? Let's see. It's not there yet. I don't see it.
Hand me the remote.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. It's not here yet, Teresa. So subscribe to Andromeda 7 at that link. And I'll be on Wednesday night with Teresa. And so that's cool. So what are you doing today, Rainy, other than painting? Is that it? You just going up to Grandma's and painting a room?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I don't know that I have much energy left for even that. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I hear that.
Ow! Oh, I hate children.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, they're kicking each other next to me over here. There's Flynn.
Of course. Hey, Flynn. Say hi. You're on radio or video. Rowan going out the door. So, where's Ellery?
Skate park. But Ellery's in the kitchen, and I'm not turning the camera that way.
Oh, all right.
It's too dark in the shine from the kitchen light, and I actually don't know where she is anymore.
Yeah.
She's on the.
So, there. Now your head's as big as mine. Almost. So, 3D. She's in 3D.
My head will never be as big as yours.
Your what? Your what is?
So funny.
What's
my head will never be as big as yours.
That's right. Don't you forget it.
Yeah.
So we're going to discuss mythical characters, including this one about the Jinn on Wednesday with Teresa. All right.
Hey, it's Scotty.
Hey, Rainy.
What's a bear with no ears?
An earless bear. I don't know. What's a bear with no ears?
A bee.
Oh, it's one of those spelling bee types of jokes. You know that sounds like an English teacher joke. Oh, I hear Ellie. So
she's yelling at me to tie her shoes.
Hey, Ellie. Hi. What you doing, baby? Oh, you can't see me. Hold on. See, I got to turn it around this way.
She still can't see if I turn my camera.
There we go. All right. Something like that. I'm over there somewhere. I can't see. Can't tell. Hi, Ellie. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Now she should be able to see me on the computer screen on your phone. So, folks, how's this for stimulating, scintillating radio? This is just, hi, Ellie Bean. What you doing, baby? Oh yeah, nothing like brand new white shoes to trounce through the mud with. So
we're having a cleaning hour in 15 minutes, guys. Just so you know.
All right. Fantastic. I wish I was there. There you go. There's the living room. Nice.
There's our living room. This is what happens when mommy goes to work and no one watches the kids.
Yep. She had a babysitter lined up last night when she went to do massages, and she was supposed to be there at 5:30, and she called Raini at 6:30 and said she was going to be late. So Raini was home. Did you get home before the sitter even got there?
No, and I left
the next door neighbor girl.
I had to leave the kids because I needed to go to work, so I left them.
Well, Flynn's 11 and a half, so he's old enough. He's just not, he's not tuned in. And that's it. And so
we have video cameras to help watch kids.
There you go.
With two-way radio, so I can yell at them. But she got here.
Roger Rabbit said. Roger just said that looks like you hired a professional organizer compared to the current status of his house.
Nice, yeah.
Give us another shot of the living room. Let's see.
Yeah, you want to see our living room?
Yeah, let's see the living room. There it is.
Look at the blankets on the couch, and if you can even see in the back kitchen.
Yeah, there's the kitchen.
Just decided she was going to make a cake this morning, so everything is out, dirty bowls.
Wow, look at that. Oh, the big black thing on the scan back over there. There's the Nordic track that goes up like that to get it out of the way. So
that's what that was used for last.
What?
I put the Pinewood Derby cars on there to get all the
nice. It started up the Nordic track and ran the
cars go faster.
Oh, everybody! Quick announcement: my daughter Ellery, my 6-year-old, won first place at the Cub Scout Derby car races yesterday. First place in a trophy.
Flynn got second place.
Flynn got second place, and Rowan got.
She lost third place by 0.01 of a mile.
Wow, that's pretty good. So you guys all built good cars this year.
Yes.
Where's your trophy, Ellie?
She's outside.
Oh, okay. I love the way the camera makes you look like your nose is really big. The distortion of the camera. Doug Stack just woke up. Oh, look at that. There's Ellie's trophy. Is that her car on it? No, it's not.
No.
Okay. Her
car is on the table somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go get it?
No. Yeah, you could. You could go get it.
All right.
You look beautiful.
That's good look for me, right?
I like that look.
You can stay home now for sassing me today. No.
Who sassed you? Rowan?
Rowan sassed me. She's got this weird complex thing going on where she doesn't ask, she just says, do my hair.
Yeah. There's Ellie's car. First place she took with that baby. And you guys, you don't know it. It's all aerodynamics. It's all how you do the axles and the wheels, and it goes faster.
And wait out the car.
Very nice.
Right now, here, hold on a second, Scotty. Right now, I'm on radio with Dad. Well, you need to wait now because you're kind of being a turd and interrupting. And here's all the weights food in there.
There you go.
Have our 5-ounce car.
Right on.
Here's Rowan's 4th place car.
There it is.
Rowan, you did a great job.
But it looks fantastic.
By 0.01 of a mile.
There you go.
For a second, I don't even know what it was. Yeah, well, it's based on miles. So she was like 207.0 something.
Nice.
And the other was 207 miles. 0.1. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know our phones.
I don't know how scintillating this is for radio for everybody out there, but I love it. So it's my show.
Well, it is your show, and it's your Sunday show, and it doesn't matter.
That's right.
But I should let you go and tend to our children.
Okay. Well, you go. I love you, and I miss you.
I love you too.
It's nice to see you. Nice to see you, even in digital format 100 years ago.
Right.
Couldn't have done this. So, well, 50 years ago even. So, it's nice to see you. I'm glad I could get you a spur of the moment without makeup on or your hair done.
Thanks for the heads up. I didn't.
And sometimes I even
sometimes
I even catch her when she's not dressed.
Yeah.
Woohoo! All right.
Okay.
All right, baby. You have a fun day.
Bye,
all right. See you later. See you later. Bye. Okay, she's gone. There you go. It's our little check-in with Raini this morning. She's doing all right. Isn't she amazing? What an amazing woman. And so the things she does, she is basically right now a single mom at home. And so, but she's like a single mom because dad's so far away, and it grates me. It hurts my heart sometimes, but at the same time, she's doing all right. And if the house isn't picked up, so what? You know, one of these days we'll hire her a maid, and a maid or a nanny who can be a maid, a nanny with long legs and big boobs. That's what I told her, and she said, "No, we need a manny." So with six pack and so on. I'm like, no, what do you? No, icky. So anyway, folks, yeah, it's great to have Rainy on. Sounds like a lot of fun. They did a great job at the Derby. That's pretty cool. You know, it's small town we are, and it's small town scouts, but derbies go on all over the country with the scouts and the Cub Scouts. And it's been a tradition for 50 years plus. And so little carved cars, and there's some of these guys have it down to the science. They grew up in the Cub Scouts and scouting and went into Boy Scouts, and then they're scout leaders with their kids, and they've got all this stuff down to a science. So for my kid, my 6-year-old, to have taken first place amongst some of these other kids who know their stuff and have the parents who've been there the whole time doing it with them and always take the prizes, that's pretty cool. So at least Rainey's gotten to learn a lot of the low tech that goes behind making a little wooden car go fast. So you had an airplane derby a couple of times also. That's pretty. Did you fly them? Were they radio controlled flyer planes, or you just made airplanes instead of cars? So that's pretty cool. Roger says that things were smoothing out over the past 5 to 6 days, but the seizures came back last night. She's in good spirits as always, though. Yeah, that's sad to hear, and sad to hear that maybe that's all she knows in life is that kind of thing. And so maybe she deals with it differently than we think she is. There you go, Matt. I'm not worried about the critics. I'm just saying, if you see me talking to my wife, catching up with my wife in a phone call that we're broadcasting over the airwaves, the internet. They're on a wire propelled to the rubber band driven prop. That's pretty cool. So anyway, I have more stuff to talk about, but I think I'm going to save it for this week. It's 10:30. We've been going for about an hour and a half. It's actually technically 10:28. And so I think we're going to start wrapping up for today. I want to thank you all for being here, for taking your Sunday morning when you could have a quiet Sunday morning, reading the paper or a book or having coffee out on the patio or whatever you do on Sunday morning. And you spent it here with me, and I appreciate that. We'll be back tomorrow at precisely 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, and 7 p.m. West Coast time for a little more of the regular radio show. Now that we're back on the internet, we don't have to broadcast by the phone, and I feel a little lost when I do that. I just set up the phone and we just talk. And so we'll do our thing tomorrow night. Sam will be back tomorrow. with me. He's still in bed. He's still sleeping. I remember he got a little hammered the other night, not last night, the night before, Friday night, with the neighbors over here. We're partying. He had a little too much beer, and he was not well yesterday. And he said I don't usually get that way, but he pretty much spent half the day in bed yesterday. And he thought he said to me last night at 11 o'clock when I was going to bed. He said, I slept all day yesterday. He says I probably won't sleep tonight. Well, he started a movie, and I saw the movie, and he was only when I got up this morning, and it was paused. Not even halfway in, he went to bed, and he's still sleeping. So maybe he'll feel better today and back to the land of the living. Yes, and Wednesday on Andromeda 7. Thank you, Audrey. And there's a link in there, and we're going to talk about that. There are people in Mountain Time, fellow. That's right, Doug Stack. That would be 8 o'clock every night this week, Mountain Time. Like our friend Dan Madsen in Colorado, and other people out in Colorado. Steph, you're in Mountain Time, aren't you? I think, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves, if you're still out there. And so I want to thank you all for being here again. You all have a great day. And we'll see you Monday through Friday for the Intrepid radio program. Oh, Steph, you're not. Okay. I can't remember where you are. For some reason, I was thinking you were somewhere around Boulder, Colorado or something, and I'm wrong. It's somebody else I'm thinking of. So we'll be back every night this week, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. West Coast time, and 2 in the afternoon in Sydney, Australia. And by the way, 3 in the morning in England. So Great Britain. So, you're East Coast. That's right. Now I remember, Steph. So, everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you, Matt Finn, for putting up my links. Go avail yourself of some good shirt designs and stuff like that, and I would appreciate that. If you're not a member of this channel, go ahead and click on the join button. You can become a member. There's 3 ways you can become a member. $2 a month, $5 a month, $15 a month. You'll see what you get and you supposedly get in the higher brackets. I want to thank everybody for maintaining your memberships in those higher brackets when we're not doing everything yet that we said we would do in them because of where I am now. And so thank you for everything. Thank you for being here. You guys have an amazing day. And remember, live long and prosper. See you later.